We're going live.
Are we going?
In five.
4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the One Hop podcast, that one-stop place on the internet where we're discussing a lot of things intrinsic to nerd culture, especially in Nigeria. We're bringing it home. We're not really interested about what people are doing that more. That's not true. But this is episode what again? We're still in the professional segment of the tripartites, the podcast. You know, the podcast is divided into three tripartites. The one is the comrade perspective. The other one is the more professional, creative perspective. I brought a very lovely lady to the studio today. Speaking of the studio, we're not in our Palo studio again. We're not in our Palo studio. We have upgraded. We're using the Cupid Cave, GRA, and man, it's big upgrade. Also, it's also a financial. I would say it's a downgrade financially. Financially, it's a downgrade, but yeah, it's an amazing place. You guys should check it out. They didn't pay me shout to advertise, but moving on. Today we're discussing a very generic topic. It's a ubiquitous concept that happens throughout time. God uses it, man uses it. We're discussing about creativity. In fact, more particularly, we're discussing about creativity in Nigeria. And I brought like a very respected guest. She's a big madam. You know, some of you might already know her. Please, Barida, introduce yourself before I keep disgracing myself here. Just speak.
Okay. My name is Barida. I'm a scriptwriter, event planner, and I'm basically an all-round creative.
So I really scored the bag. This creative segment, I got somewhere that I don't know. Barida is being modest. I don't know why, but Barida is the CEO of Hyper Creative Network. They are the organizers of PHcity's very own Comic Con. In fact, they are the organizers of the first Comic Con because we have two Comic Cons. For the first one, Barida, now she be the madam of the organization that does that one. So she's not a small person, yeah. So yes, levels. So anyway, Barida, we're discussing about creativity today. Like that's what I decided we're going to talk about. You know, like a lot of creatives, I don't think, especially in Nigeria, I think we don't really understand what creativity is. We sit down here and we think of absurd thoughts. You just sit down here and imagine somebody, eating a bucket and that's creativity. So that's what we're discussing today. And that's why our preamble question, the first question we're going with is, what is creativity? Like, let's put a definition on that. Let's actually define creativity. So do you want to go first?
Okay. I would say, for me, I haven't really found a definition that can actually put you in a box. But I would say basically being able to think of an idea, or develop something within your head or in a space. It doesn't necessarily need to be too art inclined. It can be even in business.
Yeah.
To be creative. Yeah. So it's basically all around. So it's the ability to.
That's something I wanted us to point out. Like every time people hear creativity, what they hear is art. They hear writing. They hear animation. And in fact, in the definition of intelligence, one of the definitions of intelligence, the extra meta definitions of intelligence is creativity. Intelligence, we have memory, we have processing information, and we have applying it. I hope I'm getting the order right. Well, then there's creativity that's actually an aspect of intelligence. And so people always have this misconception that creativity is only for people that are in creative arts or fine arts in general.
That's wrong.
Yeah, that's I think is wrong. And I want to capitalize on that thing you are saying. Creativity for me, creativity is the ability to create, honestly. The moment you're able to create something, you are a creative. And so that transcends not just writing. It goes beyond that. That's business, what are you going to say? Business, science, stuff like that. And I think there should be a more exotic definition for it, because if I just say creativity is the ability to create, then anybody can just carry something and mash stuff together and say they created thing. It's something rather. But I feel like creativity is the ability to create, but create for a purpose. Like when you have some sort of vision for a thing, when you have some sort of agenda for a thing, like this table in front of me or this iPad, it wasn't just thrown into existence. It has a purpose. You know, I'm talking too much this podcast. You want to say something? Say something.
Okay. I think for basically almost any profession or whatever it has to be or needs to be, there are always processes. So even to a certain extent, you can say some persons who invented the lights, and so basically that they are actually
creative.
Yeah. But the difference is that most times they followed different processes and failed at different things or in the process of creating this. So when that doesn't, rather most times they succeed, but later on they may need someone who is business minded to push it forward. But over time, I think the law has helped to also create some form of ownership that yes, you created this. So even if it's going to be used all over the world, it's going to be recorded that this belongs to you.
Yeah.
So even if anybody wants to improve on that basic thing, I'm trying to think of what the chips that are being used for phones.
Yeah.
We know that it was obviously created by someone, though I can't remember created it.
Cool.
But at least to a certain extent, the person who was able to figure out that stuff, at least within the science space and the rest, there would be some form of acknowledgement to say, okay, yes, this person created this.
Yeah.
Or if you must use some certain lines of code, you have to contact the person who owns those code for permission, and
Before
they give you.
Yeah, the person has like sort of pattern. Yeah, but like I think to summarize it all up, I mean, creativity does demand like I think at least three things. Whatever you're creating has to be unique, because if it's something that someone has already made, then you didn't create it, you just copied. So like that's one of the things I feel like are one of the criteria for to define creativity. Anything that is creative has to be first of all unique. It has to be different, and it's true that uniqueness or like difference is relative, because I keep using this Homelander versus Superman, for example. I don't know if you know Homelander. Homelander has the same abilities as Superman, even down to the heat vision stuff, you know, but you cannot say Homelander is like Superman. They may share abilities, but he's a completely different character from Superman. Why? Because relative to Superman's characteristics and behavior, Homelander is a completely different person. He's like the direct opposite of Superman, but they share abilities. So like, again, creativity is relative. In terms when we're defining like it as a unique, when we say that it has a unique characteristic, like for something to be creative, it has to be unique. Uniqueness is relative. It depends on what you're comparing it to. And then I think the next thing is that creativity has to have purpose. It has to have some sort of reason. Like those days when I was writing with one of my friends like that, I don't want to call his name because he will still see this podcast. You know, he was telling me about how what if a character just has a gun. There's a character we had developed and it was like, what if a character has a gun? And I was like, okay, that's a nice thought, but why? Why should the character have a gun? And he couldn't say it. He was saying it's being spontaneous. And that's something else that people used to tire me with. You know, like, I'm being spontaneous. I'm just thinking. And I'm like, no, there's no reason. You just, like, people should separate a thought from an idea. There's a thought of being able to fly, and then there's the idea of the exact mechanics you're going to use to fly. Creativity has a lot of work. People confuse imagination with creativity. That's what I want to point out. Like, I can imagine anything. You know, I can imagine toothpick in your teeth right now, even though there's no toothpick there. But like creativity, though it happens in the realm of imagination, because imagination is like the field. But creativity itself is a completely more complex phenomena that you have to explore. Like there's a lot of work,
processes.
Exactly, processes to it, and you don't just do it anyhow. So
it actually needs to make sense, because sometimes when I'm writing particular scripts and rest, and if maybe it's a series, for every action each character takes, you have to think, does this fall in line with who this person is?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this going to make sense in episode 7?
Yeah.
If it's not going to make sense, scrap it out.
Exactly.
So
the first draft is never the answer.
Even after the first draft, most times, I feel that's why sometimes for series and movies, they have creators, they have writers, and they have editors, because most times there's things you have in your head, like, okay, yes, you've created a theme for that particular series. Yes, you've written it and the rest. You've written the dialogue. Sometimes you need someone else to actually review that dialogue with you and actually poke holes to ask, okay, what are you trying to say, or what do you want people to, so that way now there's a bit of, oh, okay, is this what you are trying to get at? Oh, and why don't we use these words? It would be better, and maybe it would suit that character way better. So and that alone also involves being able to take criticism.
Exactly. Like I tell you, and if I edit was up and down, I'm actually, because once you fall in love with what you do, you want to do the best. So you are a bit more intentional, and because of that, like, clear-cut goal you have, you understand where, man, I need somebody to look at what I'm doing here to make sure that I'm actually truly in line with what I'm heading towards. And so that's, like as I said, the second most important criteria of creativity, that there must be intention, there must be purpose. You understand? There must be a reason. And I think the last one, I'm trying to remember the last. Creativity also needs to be derived from something. Like, it's only God that created the universe out of nothing. It's only God that said, "Let there be light," and the first photon, the first electromagnetic particle, photon, came into existence, and energy was spewed into the universe. You have to be exposed, and you have to be informed. I keep telling you have to be inspired and informed to be a creative person. You have to know, you have to have knowledge about what you're trying to create, and you have to have some sort of place where you are drawing your ideas from, because the imagination, again, is just a realm. If you don't have any senses, imagination will be empty. If you could not see, like, you can't, okay, let me rephrase it better. Say you're a child born into this world, blind, deaf, your home just bad like that. You're just bad like that. You can't see nothing, you can't do nothing. You've never heard a word before, you've never seen anything before. What will you be thinking about? Like, can you even think? Like, there's a question for another day, but like, the point I'm trying to make with that extreme analogy is that you have to draw inspiration from things. You have to be informed from things, and you have to draw inspiration from things. At times you want to make a character that, maybe had a very bad marriage. And sometimes that's why you see a lot of people, they usually write about stories that maybe are close to them, because they are drawing inspiration from themselves. Like, maybe you didn't grow up with your father and mother, or you had a bad marriage, or just different woes. Not just woes, maybe exciting things happen in your life. You draw inspiration from there. And even more, and it's even way more convenient for you, because now you know the actual details to put inside your story since you lived through it. And so, but the general point I'm trying to make is that the third, important criteria for, for creativity is exposure, which is a product of inspiration and information. You must be inspired. That's why sometimes you see people like, there's this, I don't know if you know Man of Action. He wrote Ben 10. I don't think you are from that time.
No, I watched Ben 10. I watched that. I watched Ben 10.
Anyway, so he used to say how he likes classical music.
Okay.
And a lot of creatives, we tend to like things that are completely different from what we do, because I don't know, that's how we draw inspiration. But my point I'm trying to make sure is whether or not you like things that are similar to what you do, or whether or not you like things that are against what you do, or not similar to what you do. You draw inspiration from everything around you. And that's why you see painters, just Leonardo, or what's his name, Da Vinci, just be like, see one fine woman, be like, we'll draw the Mona Lisa. She is the one that drew the Mona Lisa.
I can't remember. Abi?
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
I'm hugging this.
So I think when it comes to that, basically, I would say, for me, there's a kind of this thing I kind of hold in life to an extent that there are only few things that are set in stone. The rest are variables.
It's very powerful. You just said that.
They are like the basic thing of do not kill. It's by all religions all over the world. It's an accepted law not to do this. So those basic things, I can say, okay, yes, it's not based off of
just of
any motive. Yes, it's just what it is. So that way you don't need to tell me why I should. And those reasons are actually there. But I think for creativity, whether in business, writing, animation, and the rest, you do research.
Yes.
You do
Read.
crazy.
People read. I
You do
understand. How can you be a
crazy.
writer you don't read?
Maybe so like the test me like, can I finish? I was like, there's a process to this thing that for every this thing that I write and the rest, even the words that are being spoken, sometimes you have to research it, the environment, how do you like for animation, you have to be a bit, you are way more descriptive as a writer than for a film where the director gets to, the actors can be spontaneous.
Yeah.
For animation, it gives you that room to say, okay, as a writer, what do you have in your head, or what can you imagine? Because in animation, anything is possible and anything goes. So it means that you can go crazy. So it means that when you're writing, you're being as descriptive
As possible.
So you're basically seeing the whole space in your head, and you're placing the characters and their movements.
Yeah.
So even when sometimes you do stuff, you write stuff like that, sometimes you need to actually watch, okay, what other series have been out there for a particular age grade or demography. You go, okay, you watch, you listen, how do they talk, the dialogue, what's the message behind this? Is it sci-fi? Is it action? Is it comedy? So you basically, okay, and most times too, there's a bit of the writer's personality
that seeps into, of course,
that seeps into it. If you're like, there was something that I noticed that I got to find figure that out. For some persons, if you're a very, really, really serious person, you're writing it to show, there's no two ways about it.
I tell
and
you.
and the dryness to a certain extent
We'll be showing it like me.
will be showing some punchlines.
No, I used to be very boring. I used to be very boring. But I like to be funny. So yeah, but yeah.
Because like most times there are some lines, opportunities that can just be your playful self. So if you don't have that as a personality, when it comes to this other side of creativity, you are going to be stuck.
Lacking. Yeah.
If you love dark humor, you can do dark humor.
Yeah.
If you can evoke the thought or the feeling of sadness, own it. Any feeling that you know how to do well, infuse that. Yeah. Capitalize on it in your space and basically do what works for you.
I mean, what you're saying, because people don't understand that when it comes to writing or when it comes to anything you're doing, treat it like an art. There's a reason why some of these artists that we love so much, like again, Da Vinci, will spend months on a piece. You spend time on your art. You give it finesse. You spend time. You research. You expose yourself. Like I said before, you really want to be descriptive as possible, especially as a writer self. I know that this particular segment is not for writers, but we're both writers here. So forgive us if that is what our go-to reference. So even as a writer, you have to spend time and be really structured and be descriptive and treat it like a master. Every work you do should be a masterpiece. And that means every work you do should be unique, should have intentionality, and you expose yourself well enough. Like you said, one thing you can capitalize on, like I was saying before, is capitalize on things that you have. Like, I know, like, I'm a big fat nerd, like science. That's why you gotta look at my writing. Quantum physics is pasted all over it. Astrophysics pasted all over it. A bunch of stuff, big terminologies that somebody telling me. That's why I had to bring my other guys to help me out so that, like where I'm lacking, they feel it. But the point is, I capitalize on what I feel do. Somebody called me to write Slice of Life one time, and I was like, I know fit. Sci-fi, I know. The sci-fi that I know science. I've been a nerd for as long as I can remember. So people should learn to capitalize on what they have. If you can invoke the feeling of sadness, like you said, do that. Like if you go with dark humor, and if there's something you want to introduce, understand that you have to give yourself time to cultivate it as a character first before you even put in. That's like I heard there was one actor, I don't know if she was in Grey's Anatomy, she was talking about how, before she started acting as a nurse in this nurse series that she was doing, I think it's Grey's Anatomy, I'm not sure. She had to expose herself to nurses, the life of a nurse and stuff like that, So I think it will come natural, because when it comes to creativity, people celebrate anything that is natural, anything that is coming out, as authentic as possible. But anyway, we've talked on this particular. This is supposed to be preamble, but I think creativity is something that if you want to talk about now, you can just go like this.
It's very broad.
Yeah,
very, very broad.
So our next question, Sha, is a bit, more direct. Well, I want us to look at the impacts and implications of creativity in society, and most especially like if there are any existing impacts or implications of creativity in our own society. Because me, I don't care. I said it before, I don't care too much about Igbo. I care about us here.
Okay,
So, but like,
okay.
yeah, let's discuss that.
Okay.
So, you want to go first?
Okay, sure. I would say within the last 20 years, we've actually seen the impact, but with more of music.
In Nigeria, Abi?
Yes, in Nigeria. So
more.
we've seen that, we've seen the growth, and we've also seen how it has also helped to bring up others
Yeah.
and basically make it acceptable that yes, this can actually be a good a career path.
Yeah, a lot of people
You can
know,
see-
like you were
you
telling
can-
me this thing before, Seth, off cam before. You told me some
Okay.
weeks ago, you're telling me about how one of the reasons why you are very passionate about Hyper Creative Network, your company, is because you want your goal is that one day people can sit down, children can sit down and be like, I want to be a writer, and their parents will be like, yes, that's a profitable venture, that's something you can get into. So yeah, music, you're saying that's
So like, and now basically with music, there are a whole lot of things you can do in music, and you can be a songwriter, producer, A&R, PR. Like that, music alone has broadened so many
much, yeah.
possibilities. If you see one artist, that one artist can have 6 persons on his team that are basically
facilitating everything. Yeah.
facilitating the music, everything that you're saying, because it's a process in itself. So that way also, you like for A&R's kind of is the ability to, okay, this is the project we want to work on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make tracks that suit this project. So when you record or when they record, okay, no, this doesn't go well, take it back.
Yeah.
Let's switch it up. Or they can find producers that would be a good fit for the artists.
Yeah.
And they create something really good. Like I was watching Pikasani's documentary. I think his documentary is about just trying to inspire those who have already started. So a bit of it, I saw that when he creates and he takes it like full-blown work.
Yeah.
Like you put in the time required, and you also see, okay, the producers that are working there, the sound engineers,
Yeah.
the mixers. So it's also a bit of, oh, okay, this thing I'm doing, I need to actually structure it, and it has basically helped to form and make that particular industry
Really come alive.
alive and bring in
relevance.
and generate revenue. Because now, if there's a music concert, money is being generated for merchandise. I think we're getting to, or would get to a level where in Nigeria where for shows, if an artist's song is played, whether it's there or not, is actually
I think
actually
I
meant
think we
to
should have
pay.
reached them by now. I mean, Nigerians like money. Nigeria.
The laws here aren't really too, when it comes to the creative space, really being taken into action. Those laws are there, but they're not being enforced. So it just creates a lot of loopholes in it. Well, I was okay for music, for animation. It's coming up. It's like, I think we're at the stage of the pregnant woman.
Well, like, how many months pregnant now?
I think maybe like 6 to 8 months.
Wow,
6 to
we're
8
close
months.
now. We're close.
We are
Go see
close in
more.
the sense that more short films, more stuffs are being created. So you know that very soon now there's going to be an influx of short films coming out of this space, and then you know that, oh, okay, now there are more studios who are doing these things. Means there are more animators. There are more persons.
One thing I said about is how the foreigners are starting to get interested in us. And it's looking as if very soon a lot of local studios will be partnering with big short studios. That's one thing I'm excited about.
Because the stories are actually unique, and we've watched a lot of their own experiences. So some persons now, some movies that you watch, you already know this is what it is, this is how it ends. It's really nothing so spectacular. Like Woman King, it's the Oyo story. It's a story from here, which has so many parts.
Yeah.
If you like, there are so many rich parts of our history, but even here in the south, you can write on Kekjado of people.
Yeah.
Even a film.
Sorry, I'm sorry if I don't really too many of them.
like you can. There's just basically an all-rounder, a whole lot of things. Sometimes I even see it as aside from even artistically, there are things that haven't been tapped here. Both are human resources. There are a whole lot of things that has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I hear you. And like,
Having
okay, on the same topic of impact and innovation, me, I often want to talk about this because, like, I see that there's a lot of opening. Like, for me, I like to look at things from a very like overly deep perspective. I like to look at things about how intrinsically one aspect can affect multiple aspects. Like, I keep telling people that sci-fi in America is one of the biggest reasons there's a lot of technological advancements. At least in my own perspective, I don't know how accurate that is, but like, you know, people imagine driving cars, self-driving cars, and then before you know it, one rich billionaire brings it to fruition, you know. And people imagine, you know, like battery-powered cars or water-powered cars or whatever, and then one eccentric billionaire brings it into fruition again. So like, I feel like it's more like a lot of writers there, you know, like they stretch their imagination, they begin to go beyond the norm, you know, go into realms of thought that nobody has really approached, and you know, they bring things to our notice that we would have not noticed on a normal day, and you know, that affects. But generally, Oyibo people are an idea-driven society. That's what my mother used to tell me. They're an idea-driven society. Everything they do always starts from thinking, calming down, and seeing that. And that's why I feel like for writing, especially storytelling and animation, generally storytelling, like in animation, in writing, I feel like that will really, first of all, bring to the average man's notice a lot of other possibilities he never knew about. Like a majority of this we learn is through TV.
Yeah.
Or novels. Then like if you are from back in the day, I don't know who really reads novels. I'm joking, people read novels.
I read novels growing up now, then in body school. I think they caught somebody reading Pregnant Virgin, and I went to an all-girls school. So like the irony of that Pregnant Virgin, why are you reading it? This school.
So like I feel like a lot of information that like a lot of things that could be brought to our notice can be like facilitated through stories. And if we push more on unique storytelling, not just the same Amadio, I was telling you before like Yoruba mythology, a lot of people like we flog Yoruba mythology a lot. I'm not just talking about that. You know, like a lot of other things. You know, like I keep asking myself, what would it be like if, you know, like Nigeria had its own secret, you know, central intelligence. No, like like there's even something I want to start next year, or rather, I think this podcast will be aired next year. So it's more like there's something I want to start. I call the Curious Plug, where I just want to nerd out on different, you know, like different hypothetical questions. Like, what if Nigeria had 24 hours light? How would that be? You know, like I want to do the science, I want to do the math, I want to calculate and understand economically, can we actually achieve it? And not just me, I have a bunch of people I'm gathering. We want to figure it out, and we'll do a video about it. And like this, like things like that will be done. And so, like, I keep imagining, what if Nigeria had like a CIA? No, we actually technically we have a CIA, an NIA, registered Nigerian Intelligence Agency, but you know, like everything in Nigeria, it just did for paper.
They're actually there, but just like the CIA, when you meet them, they don't show you that particular ID card. They give you. I feel like they show you. To argue this they show you. No, that's because I can't really go into details.
Are you an NIA agent?
No, but I'm not. No, I'm not. But just watching or being or rather seeing somebody who works in that space, and they give you reasons why they do know that. Most times it's for security reasons.
Yeah, I get it. It's supposed to be
sometimes
covert.
They may also have a reason for being there. Sometimes the person they may be investigating can be somebody in a particular force.
Yeah.
So most times only very few or high-ranking persons know this is who they are. Mm-hmm. So they go and they can go with this person, but they have another ID card
they're using. Yeah, and my point here I was trying to make is that there are so many other plot options and plot possibilities other than just, you know, like Amadioha, and you know, like I know Amadioha is actually not Yoruba mythology, but like that's the only Igbo mythology I feel like we flog enough of although Comic Republic is trying to share. My point is, before I get sidetracked, there's so much more we could explore story-wise, and that in turn can bring those possibilities to people's eyes. The reason why I fell in love with science was because of cartoons. Ben 10. That's the reason why I said I love science. I love, all forms of science, of course, most especially physics and computer science. But it's because of television that I found my path in life, and stuff like that. And I feel like the void in the creative industry when it comes to writing and storytelling, that void, if filled up, can really bring a lot of possibilities. Inspire people to be more than just being a doctor or a politician or wanting to work in NDDC. Not to say I don't want to work in NDDC, but there's so much more that could be explored, and just need a little nudge from one story like that, and give it a Nigerian character.
I would say most times it can also be the fact that it's what people are exposed to
that they talk about.
Makes sense. That's why sometimes I feel doing some companies or some NGOs can have a bit of a hub or things that help to the few persons who have been able to start in a space, and you feel they are doing well and they've put in the work. Why don't you maybe create an avenue to which they can be exposed to something outside the country to say, oh, okay, this is how, okay, I've watched this, okay. Or bring in some persons who are not from this country and just basically help. Of recent or some years back, there was time that I think I was to contribute to an anthology, but it got rejected. I was a bit hurt, but later on, having worked with somebody from outside the country, and then I was finding it a bit difficult, and she was like, okay, why don't you try to write on the things you like first of all and grow from there and put in the necessary work. And most times they would, aside from even just writing, for even science or some other courses that you're trying to do, or even with business, you have to do something over and over and over. The repetition needs to be there.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, your brain also now, okay, has figured out, okay, this is what I've been doing. No, let me work on it. Let me do something better. Even with inventions, if you're trying to make this stand, it's not, maybe the mic, it's not, this knot is okay. How can I place it? Should I place it the other way? Oh, okay, no. Let me try it this other way. So you're basically having to
trying to improve,
to think and to improve. And most times, that's why sometimes some scientists, they go for courses, for conferences.
Yeah.
Because they need to expose themselves to how other people think.
We need more conventions like that. We need all these gatherings where we can come together collectively and be writers, businessmen, stuff like that. I mean, Lagos, like I said, Lagos, they now then we get all these things.
I think to be fair, they've always been that way. So I think within the what I would say it's a bit fair is from before Nigeria was formed, Lagos was always the hub. So when it comes to that, so to place yourself on a pedestal or with them, it's basically trying to be they are who they are. We should all now. I would say within the last 5 to 10 years, there's been a growth in events in Port Harcourt and conventions.
Very true.
A whole lot.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened. We are supposed to be we're supposed to be runners up. Honestly, we
are runners up.
I know you say Abuja, but Abuja doesn't count.
No, I didn't say Abuja. I said we are runners up to.
Anyway, I think we've dwelt on these implications a lot. Let's move to our next question. Is where are we excelling? That's the next question. Where are we excelling in creativity wise? And I think I already
music
and everywhere. So let's just touch it briefly.
And acting. Let's not forget.
That's where
Nollywood.
That's where I'll come to this Nollywood because I'm not impressed. We're trying. Why
are you not impressed?
Netflix. Anyway, let's finish music. Okay. Creativity wise, I feel like the way we are exploring so much with our own let's say stuff, get people doing fusion, basically mixing a whole bunch of other genres into our Afro beats and stuff like that. we are excelling there. And what my question is, how far? Why is the love not spreading? Like, there's no other place again in the entertainment industry. And I know you want to say movies. We'll come to that. But let's ignore movies for a second. There's not a place where creativity that we're excelling in, creativity wise. Like, I mean, like storytelling are improving, but I can only count like 5 good stories I've read. And I did a lot of research on comic books and stories this year alone. And when I say, like, it's not as if we're writing bad. It's just, for me, once there's repetition, once I've seen it 4 times and it has the same kind of structure, it's no longer creative again. It's just, they're just doing what worked for the other guy. And music, we're not doing like that. Although, yes, there's a lot of copycat, but there's also a lot of variety that's been presented. There's so many styles, so many sub-genres like that we've explored in music. And so that even if you are copying, people are not really attentive. Like,
well, if you think of it to a certain extent, for some of the comic books and the rest that you've read, they've actually been from a certain part of the country. So that has also played a role. Have you read any this on the northern parts? The cotton and
they just wreck cows and kill human beings.
But imagine a writer from there actually writing on their own history. What it would seem like, you would be intrigued because you've not really read.
Do you know any of them? You don't see any of them?
No, I don't, unfortunately. But I would actually really, really love to read comics on that.
I think that's what I'm saying, that we are lacking. We're excelling, we're capitalizing on, and that is so Nigerian. If this thing, medicine is paying, everybody wants to be a doctor. If being a lawyer is paying, everybody wants to be a lawyer. So if music is doing well, you're seeing Davido every day, Whiskey, they came from the ground up, well, Whiskey, not Davido. But yeah, you see that and you're like inspired, like me to have do and feel make them. Like in my department alone, you get like 4 or 5 musicians. Everybody wants to be a musician, and a G-boy as well. But like, that's by the wayside. That's by the wayside. Everybody wants to be a musician. And I think for me, I get very exasperated when so invested into spec, and it just screams hustle. Everybody is hungry, and so anywhere that is showing face, everybody wants to be there. And we're ignoring the other possibilities. And the industry gets saturated, and it now becomes difficult to even enter that one that everybody's on. So yeah, I mean that's it for me. Music is excelling, but at what cost? At what cost? The other people them are lacking. And I mean, do you want to say something before I start arguing about Nollywood? Because I'm ready to go to town for this Nollywood. You tell me.
I would say for music, what is beginning to happen in Nigeria now is it's what has been going on outside the country, where the space is beginning to have structure. It's now being taken seriously. Career paths are now being formed where, okay, as an artist, you can actually plan for yourself and have a pension plan for yourself. So some persons that can actually say that, oh, okay, I can actually go down this path and use this also to basically create, push it all out, and also still be able to make a living and actually live a good life. Good and comfortable life, even without necessarily being an A-list celebrities. Celebrities. There are a whole lot of things these days that basically helps artists and people in the music space to actually make money. So once you're able to get that hack, you're able to figure it out. They're like, you're living in Nigeria and maybe you're a songwriter, or maybe let's say you wrote for somebody like Wizkid and you're also the producer on the track. If he's performing that particular track, and if maybe it's something like Call Out Your Boy or a particular classic, and that he always performs that at each of his sets, it means that where he performs that, you get paid.
And bank on it.
So if he performs at how many shows in the month, that's about
royalties coming out from there.
Yes, it's coming to you each month. And that's aside from streaming in itself, and aside from publishing in itself, because I'm actually a bit into music business.
Oh, you're into music? I did not know that.
Yes.
What do you do?
As I said, you're an all-round creative, yes.
Anyway, we're running out of time, but we have like 3 extra questions. But I want to argue this Nollywood. Leave
them
so
back.
within 1 minute, my media production manager, wait, just time us 1 minute. Let's do this because I'm ready to I'm ready to
Why
die.
you change
We
it
die here,
again?
we die here.
Okay.
What exactly are you seeing in the Nollywood movie industry that you're making? Like,
Okay.
oh,
What?
wait first. Yes, more money is being pumped into the industry. Yes, we're having more collabs, we're having more features. But are we really doing anything that is like box office shattering? Are we okay, let me not ask for so much. Are we doing anything that is what is one household name movie series? Like, it doesn't have to be a series, more like part 1, part 2. What is one household name movie?
It's Sakaba.
No. Okay, what is one recent? Because nothing show. I think we're just moving at a very steady. We're not doing anything spectacular. So that's why. I mean, somebody told me that we're trying. There's one of my guys arguing, we're getting a lot of Netflix deals. Plenty by doing Netflix. But Netflix will do deals with anybody. I mean, it's a matter of time before I get a deal with Netflix. I mean, so does that really count? Does that really count? What? Nah, this argument no be here.
I would just say, for me, why I would say Nollywood is because the persons you saw 20 years ago are not the same persons 10 years ago and 5 years ago. So as much as they have their own issues, there's actually been a growth. They are trying as much as they can, though they can do better. I think there's a bit of monotony happening in it. Seems like just one particular person that basically picks the same script over and over again. And I think they're kind of stuck in a zone, like a creative block. Like, that's why sometimes you can see that some animations or some things can be made into a movie, just like Arcane.
Yeah.
It's a game. It's being made. Like, I love it. Like, so most times, so I feel there's a bit of, it's always the same. Like, why can't they actually pick up a comic, make that into a so
the same genre itself? It's always either comedy or drama. You know, here that they always play up and down like this. But drama, although they are trying, they're not doing that again. But we capitalize so much on comedy. It's as if in a country of over 200 billion people, only comedy. This thing drama, and of course, it's not in their defense. The country is hard. They can slide them down.
But aside from that, for anything you really want to do, and so long as it's kind of new, you would have to painstakingly take the years and the time. It's the same thing with art. Art doesn't, even as an artist, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 to 5 years after you've put in the required time and you've also seen what you can do better, maybe then you can start seeing. But if you think at that phase, even gradually, by 5th, 6th year, the 6th year, you realize that I was actually trash back then, but I've actually now grown over time, and you can be like, okay, yes, now I understood why some persons didn't get on board then, because I needed to be better. Some persons won't support, not because they can, but because you need a lot of work. And if they're at a point in time where they can't give you that required time, they will just basically watch your growth. And when they feel, okay, now you're ready, you can now step in and amplify what you're doing and give you the opportunity. But you need to be ready. You can't, it's just like to be a doctor. You have to take those number of years. You have to practice. Your hands have to be
worth it.
You have to be steady. Like, I worked in the hospital and being exposed to, so it has actually given me a newfound respect for those in the medical field, because when you see the number of hours they put in, and when you know that we live in a place like Nigeria where most times things are not the way it should be, and you see and when you have somebody close to you, or like a friend or like a sibling, and you see them in that space, and you realize that though they have their lapses, but sometimes they are really doing the best they can do. What sometimes I think they may need is maybe a better structure, better use of resources, and maybe things that maybe make sure they follow rules and regulation. But if you do pass what you do.
Anyway, this next question, we'll bullet through it because it's actually like a brief question. 2 minute clock. Where would you place the creativity meter in Nigeria? Just on a scale of 1 Let's say it together at the same time. I'll count to 3 and then we'll say it. 1, 2, 3, go.
3.
4. Close enough. I was generous because I was like, now my country, I know if you rep them too bad like that. But okay, why 3?
Because I feel we've not scratched the surface. There's like, okay, now if they ask you, okay, who are the persons in this particular space, where can you go to? There's no form of structure or anything. There's no form of documentation. So once things are not documented, you know that there's really a long way to go.
That's why I started this O.N.E stuff, because people don't even talk about the little that how much more. The more that should be done. Nobody. I want to find out who specific area. It's like we're lacking a lot of role models. Yes, I mean we have movie role models. We have music role models. We do have a bit of.
Are they living in Nigeria? Do they reside here?
A lot of them, they don't live. A lot of them are not as active. A lot of them are not as active on social media.
We don't need them to be active. We just need to know these are the people doing this. They have offices. You book a time consultation and basically try to, and for a field that hasn't even really started, and you're almost like a pioneer. I won't say it's kind of like your duty, but you have to contribute.
No, but it is your duty. I mean,
you have to contribute
in a very idealistic sense, and even in a realistic sense. If you want what you are doing to grow, and you know now only you will do it first, you guys, begin to invest into the foundation of things so that your own will be amplified. I mean, it's just like you want to get into comic book publishing, but you know that we don't have an immediate market. Like even like if actual physical space you can go and buy books from. One of the things to look forward to is flagging me. Flagging me, tell me. One of the things you want to look into is you want to look into, ways to contribute to other people's like being physically distributed at the time. Like I get what you're saying. In a sense, you have the ability to press any industry, try and amplify it. And for me, I said a 4. The extra one. I feel that so much. I mean, we've tried. At least we're not 0. A couple of years ago, we were 0. Well, we're trying. I mean, it's
we ever 0. We have always had art and creativity. Like, actually studied history in school, so it's a bit so.
But this year, not everything.
So when there are actually records of those things. So I would say for the records, like while I was in school, then they would tell you, okay, before these guys came, we actually had boats.
We had boats. We were building boats. Yeah, a lot of things I don't know about Nigeria.
When you think of, okay, for these communities, they've always been a varying community. So how have they been before the last 200 years? How have they been moving? How are they fishing? What were they using to fish?
Yeah.
They have also, as we also advanced, even writing. Then we were actually writing, but in our own way.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily English, but it was what was understood by your neighbor.
Yeah.
So they're actually, even with art, tie and dye.
Yeah.
All those things, they're actually there, but because you are not actually taught those things in school, we feel it's not there. Everything was brought down to us.
No, we're never a 0, sorry. Anyway, our next question. Okay, so I believe that there are some troubling cliches for me. Like creative cliches, things that are repeated in different works, both in music, both in writing. I think that's what we're capitalizing more of, music and writing. But let's discuss 1 or 2 troubling cliches, things that everybody is always doing. I mean, I want to go first because I have one. first things first, I'm tired of Yoruba mythology, guy. Everything, why is it only then that they this country? Like when people, literally, I feel like when people abroad here in Nigeria, they think of Yoruba, like everything they think of is actually related to Yoruba people, not actually to general. It's like just like how when you think of Africa, when you think of like people that are from Africa, they see Africa as one big
one big place.
So like I feel like we flogged it a lot, and in a way, I don't know if it like I'm directly saying that we should stop making a lot of Yoruba-based content, you know, like, but I mean, especially in writing, no, I think music-wise we've tried. You know, we have Igbo rappers, we have Yoruba rappers. I don't know much about Hausa people.
No, they're actually there, but
you know, they're not. Maybe I don't know them.
Yeah.
So, but like we have that, but like when it comes to writing, storytelling, a lot of things are flogged, you know, like the Yoruba. I think, okay, when I think of it holistically now, even in movies, we explore other things, you know, but at least for writing, let me stay there first. Writing, a lot of things run around Yoruba. Then, secondly, we do a lot of comedy. I've already said it before. We do a lot of comedy, like content. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, no. I mean, you should capitalize on what you can do. But I mean, we've never really had a blockbuster rather. You know, we've never really had packed action.
I think slowly they're trying to do that. I think with a bit of Brotherhood that came out, I think 2 months ago.
Okay, so it's called Brotherhood or movie?
No, a movie.
Okay, I'll check that out. I'll look that up. But like, I feel like if these things are not being thrown into the face of the common man, are they really even like nowadays? A movie succeeds when everybody walking on the road is talking about it, you know, or something like that.
But I think in a way to be able to do some of those movies, even when we watch outside movies and they show behind the scenes, even for Black Panther, the required work, your body needs to be in shape, physically, mentally. So even if you can't do the stunts, you need to look like you can do the stunts. So most times when you look at the budget, and most times their turnout rate, they want 2 months shooting out by the 3rd month. For you to have some of these blockbusters, you can't rush some of those processes. Like I realized, after watching Arcane documentary, they were like it took them 6 years. But watching the documentary, in a way, I understood why it took them 6 years. It was their first time going into animation series, so different persons coming on board at some times and phases. They got stuck. They had to bring persons who have succeeded in running shows online that have aired to actually come and help them in that process. So even with this, they still need persons outside of the country who they've actually done blockbusters to actually come and help out. You can't do it alone. So I'll say for cliches, the one that I'll say for music and for writing is not be just alright. Bring her now, or for music, now just beats now, or just give me Afro beats or Amapiano beats. Like for every producer you see, they have their own space. Somebody can create an Afro beat and it will be nice, or he can create, or he or she can create
another genre.
EDM or another genre and really be good in it. But when maybe you're like, no, it has to be this, or just maybe try to trivialize that person's.
Yeah, we do that a lot. Anything that we were not used to, anything that is not trending, somebody else is doing, you see, it's not like my sister. She sings, she's into music, but she doesn't like sing a lot of Nigerian stuff. So for years, they used to tell her, "Assisi will not sell in Nigeria, blah blah blah." And you know, like that's one thing we always do in Nigeria. Somebody wants to try something new.
The same cliche.
They say exactly. So everybody wants to stay with. That's how we are in Nigeria. Anyway, it is very like understandable. We like to stay safe, stay with what is happening. But I mean, that is also limited. And
I won't really say it's being safe. I'll say a bit of, we don't have that culture of sticking
that takes
to things.
It deeper. It takes deeper.
They don't like to actually be a really good writer and have societies. You need to flush out your nonsense. Flush out your nonsense in the sense that you need to have written at least, like, I watched one of the, like, okay, yes, discipline also needs to be there for some of those artists. Was it Ed Sheeran or Kendrick? Because most times in a month they can record 100 songs each day. They record, Then when they are done, they now actually pick and sift through. It's the same thing with writing. It's not the first draft that you take.
Yeah.
You can rewrite. Okay.
Yeah, I keep telling people.
Be like, I need to rewrite this. I need to do this.
Good writing is good rewriting. Like, to be a good writer, you have to be good at rewriting. Like, the first draft is nice, but like the what actually gets published, or what people see, is actually like the sixth draft, and that's before editor has even looked at it. So yeah, we're kind of almost out of time, but I mean, sorry for cutting you short there. But the last question is just a one-word answer. I think we just 2 minutes and we just close. sounds like
church.
Shady Grace, take offering and close. But in one word, what will you say it takes to be creative? What do you think it takes in one word to be creative?
Courage.
No one starts with a C too, by the way. My own starts with a C. Why courage, right? Why? I mean, I know why, but like,
for creativity, there's a bit of vulnerability to the things you put out. Persons are going to actually talk. A bit of yourself is going out there, so you're basically kind of putting yourself up for criticisms. So you have to be able to face what's coming head on.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Creativity demands not for just courage to vote for criticism directly, but more like courage for you're trying out something new and you don't know how people are going to respond to it, or you don't even know how you're going to traverse this new path you have chosen. And because that's for everything, like I said before, one of the core.
But fear is still always by the side. I think if you're not really scared, then you're not doing something, but you just need to just have this thing that, okay, even if I'm scared, I'm still just going to take the next step.
A lot of creatives, singers, writers, you're anxious about your work. And like I was saying before, especially like I said before, uniqueness is a very important feature of creativity. And the funny thing about uniqueness, when you do something new or something, you're trying something that everybody does in a different way, you don't know how it's going to go down. You don't know how it will come out. You don't know how people will not take it. And of course, you're working the process, you're being diligent, you are intentional, you're exposing yourself, but you are still not sure. So it takes a whole leap of like faith and belief.
Even if there's sometimes the belief is sometimes just do your best.
Just do your best. Sometimes you might not even believe, but you just decide that you believe. My own was consistency, Sha. I believe that in everything you do, to be creative, to become a creative person, you have to be consistent in every aspect. Your routine, like whatever particular path you're following. Even if you are doing multiple things, let there be like a consistent increase in pace of what you're doing, or like a consistent diligence in what you're doing. And I believe that like consistently, the best way to become good at writing is by writing. I keep telling people the best way to be good at fighting is by fighting. The best way to get good at running is by running. So the best way to get good at writing or any form of creative endeavor is consistency. What's in my mouth? Consistency. But like, so yeah, because your first song might not hit it, your second song might not hit it. It depends, Sha. If you work on a song in 2 weeks, that one might not blow. Compared to a song maybe you worked on 1 year. I don't know why you work on a song for 1 year, Sha.
Most times for artists, most times the songs that we think they're just that might probably be their 100 song.
They have been doing
so
it.
In the industry, it's more like when you get that hit or that track, that's when the career basically starts. But before then,
they've been writing.
They've been trying.
So it's consistency for me, honestly. And I really want to stretch on it, but I'm already out of time. So I think we'll be running up here now. But I'll be asking people this question, like in all the segments, all the episodes.
Okay.
What is like your final what is one remark you have concerning nerd culture in Nigeria, or rather the nerd culture community in Nigeria? Just in like 1 minute.
Let
me articulate myself properly.
Okay.
Like, what are your final remarks on nerd culture community? Like the nerd culture community, what is something you want to say about it? Like maybe want to scream at them, do better or something. I don't know.
Can you really scream at something that is still basically a child?
So you want to encourage it instead? Yeah. What do you want to say?
I would just say just continue.
You know, funny enough, as you said, this scream at it as a child. You know, that's what Nigerians do. We scream at you. Let me end this podcast here. Thank you so much, guys, for spending time with us in this podcast. Before I go, again, I'm begging people if you follow us on social media. Barida's socials will be out. You know,
Subscribe.
Barida, I said before, Barida is the CEO of Hypercreative Network. Hypercreative Network is the organization that is in charge of organizing PHcity's very own Comic Con. They organized the first Comic Con. We have multiple Comic Cons, about 2, but they organized the first one. And so, like, you like follow them out. You know, like, really support the growing community because there's so many possibilities that are open up from the growing nerd culture community, especially in PH. Of course, in Nigeria as a whole, but especially in PH. So support us, follow us. I have a Discord channel that is not active yet because nobody wants to join. Don't know why. But the Discord channel is supposed to be like a space, not even just like for O.N.E things, more like people that are interested in actually accentuating nerd culture, because that's what O.N.E is about. Accentuating nerd culture, giving it more, attention and emphasis. That's why we're trying out different videos and different tactics to raise people's awareness. And so, like, that's what the channel is for. So, like, the Discord server is for. So, the link is out there. Follow that up. I don't know how to end this podcast. I say it in every single episode. I don't know. You see it. But till I see you again. Peace, y'all.